usual.
Sunday.
Earlier than usual.
Or oilier. We're oilier than usual.
Speak for yourself.
Hi.
Hi.
You okay? Feeling good?
I don't know.
Give me a kiss. All right. We have a cool topic today.
Oh boy.
This is one that's probably in the top 5 questions of all time.
Yes. 100%.
Consistently repeated, year after year, always asked, nobody understands it because nobody's ever explained it to people. And I'm hoping that we can clearly articulate the points. And please pay attention. There's a lot to this topic.
We could talk all day long.
We could talk all day about different aspects and the whole thing in general. And there's a lot of nuanced and very contextual information that we will not be able to get into all of it on this talk.
And we will try not to go down rabbit holes.
But
we could.
We very easily could, to what she's saying, go down a bunch of rabbit holes. If the path of our conversation goes like this, it's because there's so much to it. We spent a good amount of time trying to come out with a structure, an outline of what we're going to talk about, how that's all going to work.
So we can make it nice and clear.
So we can make it clear and concise. I would love for this to be kind of a single resource definitive. If anybody in the future ever has a question about this topic,
you back here.
Here's the video that you can point people to.
Yes.
That being said, we were up. We were getting ready for bed last night and then started talking about this. And then another hour and a half later, we were still talking about it. Like, we need to go to bed.
So tell them what we're talking about.
There's a lot to it. So we are talking about what happens. Why do you gain weight when you're eating less? Is
starvation mode real?
A thing. And then what is the process for, because we hear it all the time. I'm eating in a deficit and I'm getting fatter. I'm eating in a deficit and the scale is going up. All these different things.
Spoiler alert, deficit.
Yeah.
Hint, wink, wink.
Hint, wink, wink.
We're talking about that piece.
What are we talking about? A bunch of, yeah.
Is it really a deficit?
The idea of your body, you're eating less, so your body's holding on to more energy. That type of stuff. So, okay. That's the subject matter. Let's just get right into it, I guess, right? You want to just jump right into...
Let's go.
Okay, so that is the question. We get a lot from clients, from people on the internet, subscribers, listeners, whatever, followers. I'm eating less and I'm still gaining weight. What's going on? Or I'm eating less and I'm maintaining. I'm not losing. That is more realistic and more of a thing that you see people say.
It worked until it didn't.
It worked until it didn't. What happened? Now I'm still eating less.
I'm stuck.
And
I'm in a plateau. We will be talking about
plateaus too, because that's a part of the conversation. We could do like a 5-part series on this.
Yeah, we could. I mean, I've done multiple masterclasses on these topics separately.
Yeah.
So the things we'll talk about today, I do have masterclasses on plateaus, how to break through a stall.
I've got one too.
I think you have too.
Yeah.
Reverse dieting. Why do we reverse diet? Which we may not get into
that. Don't have, because I don't use reverse diets, but you do.
I do.
I do kind of, but not the same. It's not what people think they are.
It's not what you think.
Yeah.
Right. So we may touch on that a little bit toward the end today about the reverse diet piece. Seasons, I talk about the seasons of having a building process, a building season, and a cutting season, and a reverse diet or a metabolic restoration, which we're going to be talking
about. More of a thing than anything else you've heard in a whole discussion. That's more of a thing than anything else.
And that metabolic restoration is not the same thing as starvation mode.
What is starvation mode?
And
let's get right into it.
Okay, so
what is starvation mode?
What do people mean when they say the term starvation mode?
Have you ever used the term starvation mode? I'm stuck because I'm in starvation mode.
Have you heard of this term? And if you have, what have you heard being said about starvation mode? Typically what we hear is starvation. My body's gone into starvation mode because I'm not eating enough. Right. I need to eat more to make me lose fat.
Right. I need to cycle in higher intake days in order to kick my body out of starvation mode, and then I'll start losing again.
And that's the other piece that I have a masterclass on, which
Right.
is the refeeds. Yep. What are refeeds for? Why are they used? It's not what you think. It's not what you think.
Yep. Okay, so we're here to tell you guys, starvation mode
definitively,
unequivocally does not exist. It is not.
It's not a thing.
Okay?
Sorry.
The idea, the way that you're thinking about it, the way that people talk about it, the whole idea is an offshoot of, this is the only other explanation we can give you why you're stalled, because we're only focused on the energy intake and energy balance, and we're not thinking about metabolic function, hormone interaction, lifestyle, stress, any of the other things that go
what
into
the calories are made up of.
Yeah, what the calories are made of. Like, when you're focused on a construct, calories only, that doesn't actually envelop or include a lot of other factors that impact body composition and health, you have to make up crap in order to explain it to people. That's what starvation mode is. It is made up crap because calories don't work. Okay? Now, what is
There's
actual?
There's a piece of the puzzle
that is about intake and output.
About metabolism.
Metabolism, yes.
Right? There's a piece of that. I think the concept of starvation mode was used. I think it had good intentions behind it.
Sure.
The concept, that one piece of the puzzle, was simplified too much, and to the point that it took the truth
and twisted
it into what's not actually correct.
When the foundation of a whole methodology isn't sound, everything that comes from there is going to be off a little bit.
So the
right?
piece that's correct,
twisted.
which I would like to get into some other things before we dive into this part of it, but the metabolic adaptations that happen when you are under eating for long periods of time.
Well, let's talk about that. Because we can
do that first?
Just as a definition of what starvation mode actually is, what starvation actually is.
What starvation is, right? Because starvation mode is not a thing. Right. And the reason why it's not a thing is because starvation is the thing. Starvation is the mechanism that's happening when you are under eating. So starvation is correct. Starvation mode is not. So what is starvation?
Starvation, when you're not giving your body enough nutrition. Period.
You're not giving your body what it needs to sustain or maintain where it is.
Right. Your body is always trying to survive, do whatever it can to help you survive. So if you are cutting your food intake low, it's going to adapt to that intake. So think about this.
This is a good thing evolutionarily.
Right. This is where we get fat loss. This is where we get high ketones. This is where we get autophagy. This is where all of the good things about reducing your intake in general, to where you're kicking these things into effect, or optimizing these things, right? That's why we do fasting. It's why we exercise. All of these mechanisms in our body are activated. Okay, now, starvation, there's a difference between fasting and starvation. Fasting is what we would call a short-term
starvation.
It's short-term starvation. You're starving yourself. You're activating some processes. Your body's saying, hey, I need to optimize because my food intake is less. How does it optimize? It increases accessing resources that are on your body. If you're not eating the food, it has to get those materials from your body. So the idea that starvation mode keeps you fat,
it's actually the exact opposite.
Exact opposite of the definition of starvation.
And y'all, being in a deficit is the same thing.
That's what we're talking about, being in a deficit.
Fasting.
Yes.
And this is why one of the reasons we don't encourage fasting is that you can get all of the same benefits that you get from fasting from simply being in a deficit. And that can come from eating less.
Right.
It can also come from activity.
Exercise, yes.
So it does not have to be fasting. And fasting will accelerate the adaptation.
Correct.
The adaptation, because it's more extreme.
Right.
When you're doing something to a deeper extreme, the body's going to adapt faster. because our bodies are incredible, amazing machines
Yes.
that work to start adapting whatever we're doing.
Just remember, the more extreme you go, the more impact and disruption you also have.
Which we're going to get into.
Which we'll get into, right? So that's why we like small changes, little things over time. We don't want to go from here to here.
Overnight.
Way over there. Overnight,
Can you
right?
see your hand?
Yeah, you can't see my hand. I'm just way over here. Okay, so we want to get that out the gate first, right? There is no such thing as starvation mode. Starvation is actually a process that increases your body's need to access materials from within. So if you are starving, you are losing weight. Your body has to break down protein, muscle. Your body has to break down body fat. Your body has to pull calcium from your bones. Your body, like all of these things have to come from inside. It is not possible to undereat and not lose weight. So when you ask the question, how am I eating less and gaining weight? You're not.
So the first thing, that brings us to our first
You're not.
point, which is you're not in a deficit. If you are not losing, and weight will come with body fat. Weight loss comes with body fat loss, right? Unfortunately, weight loss can also be lean tissue loss. And that we'll get into in a minute
Muscle
too.
mass. You're losing muscle too.
That's the second issue that is happening here. But let's first talk about the fact that if you are not losing, you're not in a deficit. Now, people get their feelings hurt.
You want to read?
When you say this.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish and then.
Why do people get their feelings hurt when you say this?
Well,
but I am. But according to this calculator that tells me that this is my calories for fat loss, and I'm doing that, and I'm not losing weight, so I'm not in a deficit. So I'm in a deficit, but I'm not losing. How did you determine you were in a deficit? That's the number one. That's the number one thing that we see with clients. And y'all, I can tell you this definitively because I have done this for years. For 8 years now, I have done cuts and build, cut and build, cut and build. Every single time, if I am not losing, it is because I'm not in a deficit. And as soon as I turn a dial to ensure that I'm in a deficit, I lose again. Like clockwork for every single prep I've ever done for myself and for clients.
There's multiple dials.
Every time.
There's multiple dials.
And that's the other issue is that it's not as simple as you think. But people get feelings hurt because they think it doesn't mean anything about you that you're not in a deficit. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not bad for so there's no reason to take it personal.
You're not eating what you think you're eating to make a change.
It could be eating. It could be energy, activity, output.
It could be building muscle.
It could be that you're eating less, but now you're doing less because you're tired, because your energy is low, because these things are natural and normal when you're not giving your body the energy it needs, so it's having to take it from the body. So you're actually moving around less than you were before, and you just didn't notice that because what is your body doing? It's adapting. Yeah. It's like, we're not getting as much food, so slow down. Don't fidget as much. Don't get up from the couch as much as you normally do. During your work day, you may not be getting up and walking around as much as normal. These are things that are subconsciously happening when you are in a deficit to pull you out of the deficit because your body is not just happy as a clam to be in a deficit.
Right. Well, let's clarify two things about being in a deficit. I want to define deficit first off. Well, secondly, but first I want to say another butt-hurtness thing is a lot of people eat less and think because they're eating less than what they were eating, they're in a deficit.
Yes.
That is not a deficit from when we're talking about overall intake, when we're talking about what your body needs to change your body composition, has nothing to do with what you were doing before. It has everything to do with what does your body need versus what are you giving it.
Yes.
Right? So that's why I like to work, and I don't know if you do this as much, but I work with thresholds. What are you getting? And where does your body, if I have this much fat every day, I'm gaining weight, or I'm losing weight, or I'm maintaining weight. If I drop to here, what happens? If I go up to here, what happens? I have my clients and people that I work with find where their number is right now to say, how does my body respond to this? Because it has nothing to do with what you were doing before.
I do the same thing. The first thing we do when you come in, whether you're a private client, or you're in the academy, or you're doing a challenge with us, we baseline first. And this can be frustrating for people because they come in, they just want macros. Give me macros. I cannot give you proper macros for yourself if I don't know what you're already doing.
Right.
So we have to look at what are you doing that's not moving the needle. If you start tracking everything you're already eating, and I also have them baseline their activity level, so we can look at both, right? And we start baselining sleep. We baseline biofeedback. We're baselining because there's lots and lots of variables here. If you are pulling one lever, all of a sudden you stopped sleeping when you started doing these other things. That in and of itself could be screwing with your results. And they have nothing to do with what you're eating or how much you're moving. So that's the number one thing. It's not that simple.
The things that impact body composition.
Calories in, calories out. There's so much more going on. A lot more. So we have to baseline all those things, and then we start playing with the thresholds. We
and that's where
thresholds first.
Right, and that's where we both were like, this was probably the biggest thing we want to. This might be the biggest piece that we want to talk about with this, and that is understanding thresholds and how it works, because it's not total intake. The macros that we eat do different things in our body. So when we're looking at calories, this is where people get stuck with calories.
The next problem. Okay. Yes.
I've reduced my overall calories. I'm in a calorie deficit. While particularly in the keto carnivore space, this is a big mistake that we see all the time. We need fat for hormones. We need all these ketones. We need fat, right? So I'm reducing my overall intake, but now 80% of my intake is fat.
And I'm afraid of protein because it's going to kick me out of ketosis.
Or whatever, right, when you're trying to stay in ketosis.
My protein moderate, which I would say is low.
Low, yes.
What they're saying is moderate is actually low.
So when you 80% of your intake, even if your overall calories are dropped down, if you're getting most of your food, most of your macros, calories intake from fat, it's primarily being used as energy. So yes, it's used for hormones. Yes, there's things that other things that it's used for, but replacing, this is something you guys have heard me say before. Anytime you replace one macro for another, you create an imbalance. One is too high, one is too low. The quantity, when we talk about body composition, we're talking about the actual amount of the macro that matters. It's not about the energy that macro provides. Your body uses protein differently than it uses fat. Okay? So when you are reducing protein, you are reducing the function of your body. Metabolic rate, metabolic function is driven by protein. We'll talk about that in a second. When you are increasing the amount of fat, even if your overall calories are low, you may still be getting more fat than your body needs.
Here's the piece right here, y'all. When you think you're in a deficit because you've eaten less overall, particularly when your protein is low and your fat is high, you are not in an energy deficit. So when you're thinking about deficit, I want you to put the word energy in front of it.
Yes.
Am I in an energy deficit? Because what's going to make your body take the fat off of your body is an energy deficit, not just an overall food energy, food deficit.
Because protein is not primarily used for energy. So when we're talking about energy and accessing stored fuel, fat on the body, we have to reduce how much we're taking in. That is not protein. Okay? I'm going to say that again. That is not protein. In the presence of adequate fat, eaten or stored, your body does not want to use protein for fuel. So you should be able to eat as much protein as you possibly can. And the more you eat, the more likely you are to increase what you use off your body.
So this fear of fat, protein being turned into sugar and kicking you out of ketosis when you have plenty of fat on board, it's false.
Well,
there's no need for that fear because
yes.
your body is not starving for energy. So it does not need to look for energy from protein. Protein is the last place your body is going to look for energy. Yeah. If you are not giving it anything else, it is going to try to use protein at that point. No
There's
fat,
nothing else
no carbs. You've been doing this long-term PSMF. And we can get into...
And if you're lean, too. If you have body fat, you don't got to worry about it either. Okay?
Yes.
But here's the other thing, too, and this is a video for another day, but if you're basing everything off of ratios and calories, you're going to run into this problem. Number two, if you are worried about not breaking ketosis, you're going to run into this problem. The whole idea of trying to maintain ketosis all the time is what's messing you up. Stop worrying about ketosis. It doesn't mean squat. Your body's ability to process and access and utilize ketones is what matters. If that is happening, you will not be in ketosis all the time. And that is fine.
Stop chasing higher ketones.
Okay? Stop with the ketones and ketosis. Just stop eating the crap, okay?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Okay.
That's the side.
So let's go into then the truth piece of the
what's really going on
and why we talk about why would PSMF work really well for somebody with a lot of body fat.
Correct.
Yes.
Right?
Better than fasting. Why would you do a protein sparing modified fast rather than fasting?
Right. And it starts with protein.
It's about protecting your metabolism and keeping that adaptation process from happening.
I love that thumbs up on yours. I wish mine did that.
Or happening too quickly, right? Because the issue that we see when women come to us and they can't look at any food and not gain weight because they have been under eating for so long. And this is the other piece that gets mixed up when we're talking about starvation mode. You think it's starvation mode, and what's actually happened is that your metabolism has adapted. It has downregulated. It is trying to keep you alive with less. And that is primarily because you have not eaten enough protein over time. Had you gone keto or whatever, or even not gone keto, and instead of dropping your protein low and jacking your fats way up and just trying to be in an overall deficit, had you kept your protein high, it's very less likely or unlikely that you would have downregulated to that extreme. And this is why we say, while we don't generally recommend PSMF for most people, if you're going to choose either fasting entirely and not eating at all, or doing a fat fast, eating all fat and no protein, we would prefer you choose a PSMF. Especially if you have a lot of body fat to lose. Yeah. Because your body can get the fat off your body and doesn't need it as much from your food. If you're super lean, we would not recommend PSMF or any kind of fasting.
You don't need it. Yeah, if you're already lean, you don't need to worry about it, right? You're maintaining, you're trying to improve performance, things like that. But just to highlight this, the idea that losing weight reduces your BMR is based in the current documentation, standards, expectation, thought process, publications, training, that weight includes, they may not say it, but it includes lean mass. So when you look at the literature out there now that talks about when you lose weight, your base metabolic rate decreases, that's because in that context of the standard training and information out there in exercise science and health science today, lean mass is part of that weight loss. Okay? When we look at how we think about it and how we do it and how we've done it, right? I was going over with her last night over a cut that I did a couple years ago. Over a 7-month period, I lost 20 plus pounds of body fat. My BMR did not change. I lost 20 pounds. I maintained my skeletal muscle mass. My BMR changed by 15 calories, whatever it is, right? Yeah. From like 140 something to 135, 130 something. So the rate i.e., I hate using that word when it comes to metabolism, but the function of your metabolism is maintained if you maintain protein intake and lean mass. And that is where the base of all of this discussion comes from. If you want to optimize your body composition and lose fat, not weight,
not
you
just any
have
weight.
to maintain protein intake. You have to maintain or build and improve your lean mass.
Yep. And there's two pieces now that we can go into with that, right? There's the food, and then there's the
Exercise.
what are you doing for your exercise that is screwing you up. So we just talked about the food, right? The problem is you're in this energy surplus while you're in an overall eating less, right? So you still have too much energy, more energy than what your body needs to use.
You want me to
So
pull that closer?
it's keeping it stored.
The table?
No.
Okay.
You're good. I'm just trying to, my foot fell asleep. I'm sitting on top of the little.
You're sitting on a button?
A button.
You sure that's a button?
Always like to slide one of those in there. Okay.
She said it, y'all. She said it, not me. She said it.
Oh boy,
I'm just
where
gonna drink
were
my
we?
coffee.
Okay, let's talk about the exercise side.
Yeah.
The other thing besides not eating enough protein and eating too much fuel that is screwing up your metabolism and making your body adapt in the direction we don't want it to go is your choice of exercise or lack thereof, right? A lot of people come to us, they haven't done any exercise. We're told that another big problem with the keto community.
You can lose it without eating or without eating. You can't lose it without eating, without exercising.
But yeah, you don't have to exercise. Yay, that's why we go keto. I don't have to exercise, right? So a lot of people either are not doing any kind of exercise or they're doing the wrong kind. And the wrong kind being chronic long-term cardio or chronic excessive style cardio,
lightweight circuit training, HIIT training, boot camp classes,
which is basically cardio.
Right? It's 30 minutes or 20 minutes of just throwing 2 pounds around really fast and getting the sweat on.
Just because there are weights involved does not make it strength training.
Bingo. Say that again.
Just because you're holding weights does not make it strength training. If you are not, this is his favorite thing, if you are not doing something to require your body to do more, it's going to stay where it is.
We have ladies, people that will come to us and be like, I've been in this class for the last 3 years. Why am I not getting better? Because you're in the same class you've been going to 3 days a week.
You're doing the same amount of work,
the same weight, the same routine. You're not
intensity.
doing anything to increase your ability to perform.
You need progressive overload.
You need to do more, right?
Otherwise, you're just asking your body to stay the same.
Right, and when we talk about specifically muscle building, resistance training, strength training, it's about strength. What is strength? Strength is not doing something that is weight and then stopping because you got your sweat on. If you're doing proper strength training, you may not sweat at all, but you're making a face. If you're not making a face, right?
You're not making a sound or making a face or both.
If you don't look like Chunk from Goonies, then you're not strength training. You got to make that ugly face sometimes.
Yep. If it doesn't feel difficult,
then it's not changing it.
You're not asking your body to adapt. Right. And this is where we want to adapt in the other direction. We're not always talking about less.
Yes.
Right?
This is, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. Because, okay, guys, when we talk about body composition, and this is a concept I want everybody to understand, when we talk about fat loss or muscle gain, okay, everybody is so focused on losing fat.
Losing weight.
But thinking about it, let's even if we break it down into I need to lose fat. Let's say somebody knows, and we'll talk about this. Do you even know your body composition?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Let's say somebody knows what their body fat percentage is, and it's, oh my gosh, I'm at 35%. I want to be at 25%. Okay, great. Instead of just focusing on 1/2 of the ratio, because what is body fat percentage? It is a ratio of your body fat to your overall weight. Did you know that there's another ratio that we could be looking at, right? There's a lean mass or skeletal muscle mass to body weight ratio we could be looking at as well. Ratios are always two-sided. So if you're trying to improve your body fat percentage, instead of doing short-term fixes and extreme things and fasts and all of these super deficits and all this other crap, what if you just say, I'm going to go to the gym and build my lean mass? I'm going to increase my protein, support my metabolism, add to my body's ability to do things, and build muscle at the same time. When you increase your lean mass, guess what happens to your body fat percentage?
Pew, down it goes.
Right? Up goes your muscle, down goes. You can improve your body fat percentage without losing a single pound of fat. Okay? But here's the super secret cool part. If you do things to improve your lean mass, you will lose body fat.
And this goes into, once again, that mix up with the starvation mode.
Right.
Metabolic adaptation is not the same thing as starvation mode, because starvation mode does not exist. It's not correct.
It can't.
Right?
It doesn't exist.
So, but when you have downregulated your metabolism, it's generally because you've lost lean mass.
Yes.
And we were talking about this last night. Most of the people that come to us, when they started their journey, they had no idea what their body composition was.
Right.
They were not checking their body composition. They were only looking at weight. And if they were to go back and look at what their body composition was back then, I could guarantee you that they lost lean mass, potentially even more or equal to than they lost fat.
Yeah.
And if you took their body fat percentage back then and their body fat percentage now, they probably actually, their percentage of body fat has increased on their body because their lean mass has
especially in this space where everybody's eating so much fat.
So when you take the time to build your metabolism back up, to adapt in the other direction, to improve your metabolism through the things we're talking about, strength training, proper amount of protein.
Yep.
Now your body's in a better position to easily lose body fat. So now if you go into an energy deficit, not just an overall deficit, you keep your protein high, you continue strength training to send the signal to your body to maintain and build while you're in an energy deficit, the fat just feels like it's falling off. And this is where, when I do reverse diets, it is not for the purpose everybody thinks. Oh, reverse diet means I come out of starvation mode, I start eating more, and now I'm gonna lose body fat. So now I'll lose weight. Let's boost my metabolism up so I can lose weight immediately. So as soon as I go into a reverse diet, I'm gonna start losing weight. That's not how it works, fam. Reverse dieting goes into a build phase. It's a long process of restoring the metabolism. What a reverse diet is actually for is metabolic restoration, and that does not happen overnight. That's not a quick reset that all of a sudden you're going to be able to lose body fat fast.
Does it make people lose weight or gain weight?
Most of the time, you're actually going to be maintaining or gaining weight during a metabolic restoration phase.
It's not supposed to be, it's not
about quick weight loss.
It's not about kickstarting fat loss, guys. It's about making your metabolism work better, because there's the other aspect.
Which in the long run will make fat loss easier.
Because proper function of the metabolism improves your body's ability to access and utilize fuel. When you have more muscle, your body has more of a need to process and utilize fuel. Okay? More muscle means more mitochondria. More muscle means more hormone interaction. More muscle, like the more muscle you have, the more energy demand you have in your body. Period. Okay? I didn't want to go, we weren't intending to go, but I feel like I have to call this out, because everything that we're talking about, guys, and we've got more stuff on the list. I'm pretty sure we have a bunch more stuff on the list. None of this stuff matters until you get your mind wrapped around the idea that focusing on weight loss is why you can't lose weight.
We did talk about this last night too.
Okay? Nobody wants to hear this, right? The reason you're stuck losing weight is
because you're trying to lose weight. You're not trying to get healthy. The process of, and I was trying to explain this to her last night, and I was using a lot of big words, and it was like, how do I get this point
I was like,
across?
what do you want them to take away from this?
Being healthy, by definition, means having a properly functioning metabolism. When you're healthy, everything in your body is working optimally to keep you alive. Okay? Any protocol that you follow that's specifically designed or is specifically focused on losing weight or even just losing fat only and doesn't include overall health and metabolic function is by definition creating metabolic dysfunction. That's why we need refeeds. That's why if you are in a deficit, if you are doing things that are chronically causing stress and inflammation, if you are not supporting your nutritional requirements on a daily basis, if you are not getting sleep, right? If you are under-muscled, okay, this is where we talked about the other day, there last night too. We have a lot of people that come to us, I'm healed. I no longer have insulin resistance. I no longer have hypertension. I no longer have Hashimoto's. Great. If you're still under-muscled, you are not healed. You cannot have optimal health without proper metabolic function. And that includes lean mass, strength, endurance, flexibility, all those other aspects that we don't talk about. Okay, so the focus of fat loss is the reason you can't get where you want to go. Okay? You're looking at all the wrong things instead of the road in front of you. So you got to wrap your head around that, guys. Okay,
Yeah, so
there's a bigger picture here.
I wanted to talk about the refeeds piece because that's another thing that gets misunderstood. Thinking that the refeed is to stoke the metabolism so I can lose fat, right? And there's a piece of that particularly for our very lean individuals.
If you're super lean, that can be a thing.
Then your body is starving of energy and you're going to start feeling tired. It's going to be harder to get through your workouts. You're going to have all of these physiological effects of being in a long-term deficit. This is what we see with competitors. This is what I see when I've been in an energy deficit for a long period of time.
If you're lean, right?
If you're lean.
Right.
Now there's another side of the reason why we do refeeds, even with very lean individuals, bodybuilding, is because of the psychological piece of, I've really had to, I'm really having to do something very difficult. And it would be nice to get a break every once in a while, right? So it's not only about the physiological, it's also about the psychological. And those little breaks make you better able to continue in the deficit. And that is why they are powerful. Right. It's not that the refeed did something so magical in your body that all of a sudden your body's reset and now it can lose weight and it couldn't before. It's reducing your psychological stress. So that's a huge piece that gets overlooked. Oh, you said you wanted me to make sure I said this today.
Okay.
Ladies especially, but for all people. The mental stress, the emotional stress is also a part of your plateaus. I know you're
I'm taking a note because I had something you said.
Okay.
Keep going, I'm just gonna.
But the mental stress, so many of the ladies in my group will share, oh my gosh, I was going through this breakup, or I was going through this emotional thing, or this traumatic event happened in my family. And I did not realize how much emotional stress I was holding on to. And then I had this major release. Maybe they had this big cry, or somehow they released all this emotion, they let it out. The next day they get on the scale, 3 pounds down. And they're now under the weight they were trying to get to before when we're looking at weight, right? Because weight is so much more than just fat, and even fat and lean tissue. Water weight, all of these other things that go into effect. That inflammation that you're holding in your body is not just physiological. It's a physiological, it can be a physiological representation of
What's
the
in your
mental
head.
and emotional stress.
Yeah.
So that's another piece to this whole, if you're obsessed, you said this the other day, what was your
Obsession
phrase?
cannot coexist with freedom.
So when you are obsessed with losing the weight by any account, that obsession, that stress that you're putting on yourself is also holding you back.
Yeah.
So the refeed is more than just about physiological. It's more for the physiological for very lean individuals.
Yep.
But usually the physiological effects, I don't see that as much. I don't see that really much at all with my higher fat clients, my clients who have more body fat to lose. My ladies with 40, 50% body fat,
They could.
they can go for years in a deficit.
Yep.
And they're trucking along. The only reason I ever give them a refeed is because of that
The mental.
psychological side.
Right.
Let them have a break so that they can sustain the deficit. And this is where it gets misinterpreted. People think, oh, I wasn't losing weight when I was in a deficit, which we still haven't gotten to the are you really in a deficit piece. But
God,
when I
we're
was
40
in a
minutes in.
deficit, but then I ate, I had a refeed, then they don't even call it a refeed, then I ate whatever I wanted for a day, and then boom, I woke up the next morning and the scale was down.
Then blew my macros for the day,
Right.
and now all of a sudden, yeah.
So that means I was in starvation mode and now I've reset my metabolism. That's not what it's about. What matters and what actually creates those drops you see is what you did for weeks or months on end at a time, consistently.
Yeah.
It's never what you did for one day that magically made it happen. And this gets into the tracking piece that I wanted to get into, which is if you think you're in a deficit, but you're not, it's probably because you're not tracking the right things or you're not tracking consistently. This is the two big pieces here. You're not tracking the right things, you're not tracking consistently. Tracking is more than just tracking your food. Are you looking at body composition and not just scale weight? Are you looking at it every day so you can look at averages and not just random days that you're comparing against each other when you could have had a million different reasons why the scale might have been up on that day and down on that day? So when people are telling you stop getting on the scale, stop weighing as often, just weigh every month or two, that's not going to give you the data, the accurate data of what's happening with your body.
This goes to what you say all the time.
Guys, the scale is not lying to you.
That is equally on par with starvation mode. My hatred for
The
starvation
scale is
mode.
not lying.
The scale does not lie.
Your perception of what the scale means is the problem. It is not the scale's fault. Okay? So
It's an inanimate object
it's just
that is giving you data.
Right, it's data.
That's it.
you need that data. And the more you can get more of the different types of data, what is your lean mass? What is your body fat percentage? What is your skeletal muscle mass? What is your skeletal muscle mass percentage? People don't even think about that. All of these different pieces
Give you the information that you need to let you know what's going on. But here's the kicker.
like she's saying, number one,
What happens in one day isn't the problem. It's an overtime thing.
It's never the problem and it's never the solution.
it's never the solution. It's an overtime thing. So understanding trends is part of the discussion. You have
To see what's happening over time, not a week.
6 weeks, 8 weeks.
What's been happening consistently? What have I been doing along that time?
I'm tracking, right?
Have I been consistently doing what I need to do?
Okay? I'm in a deficit. I'm eating less Monday through Friday,
But then Saturday and Sunday, I'm stuffing my face
guess what? You might gain weight.
because you are not in a deficit. You are not eating less consistently for long enough to see a change before you start stuffing your face again.
When I do refeeds, let me clarify this. What we're doing with our refeeds is not eating so much that it's now taking you out of the deficit for the week. Because fat loss does not happen overnight. It's not a day-to-day thing. Oh, this 24-hour period is done, so let's decide what fat we're losing or storing for the day. It's over time.
It's over time, yeah.
So a week, 2 weeks, multiple weeks. But I like to look at weekly averages. So when I'm calculating refeeds for a client, I tell you to eat 20 grams of fat, 25 grams of fat. That's not now putting you over your entire energy deficit for the week and taking you out of the deficit. It's just enough to give you that psychological and maybe physiological break for that day. And then you go right back to the deficit. It's easier for you to adhere to the deficit, and you continue to sustain that results because you continue the deficit, not because of the refeed.
Yeah.
That's what gets mixed up.
The other part about tracking and the data is, and this is why she does daily body comp scans, is understanding what impacts the changes. Right. So with my programs, we usually do weekly. If people want to do daily, that's fine. But I tend to do it weekly. A lot of people in my groups get overwhelmed by doing it daily, but I know you have people do it daily.
Well, they're overwhelmed until they start doing it, and then they realize it's so much more freeing.
Yeah, because what you're seeing now is every day of the week is a different reading. And then you get to start thinking about, okay, what did I do yesterday that made this scan today look like this? I didn't sleep good. I had an extra long day at work. I did this. I ate that. I had an argument with my spouse. Whatever it may be, all these different things. And you start connecting your life to how the scale is reading your body.
And it takes the personal.
Yes. It takes the identity piece out of it.
Yes, it means nothing about you.
Right.
You start to. Here's the thing that gives you true freedom. This comment, I want to mention this comment. She says, I refuse to weigh in daily. Once a month is sufficient for me, keeps my mental peace. I will tell you what will keep your mental peace better than that. And that is understanding what's behind the numbers.
Yes.
And stop making the numbers mean something. And when people encourage folks to throw away their scales,
the scale is a liar.
It's a crutch. It's a crutch. I like to say we don't want to go through life needing padded walls and straitjackets. When things trigger us and we avoid the triggers, it's a protection mechanism. It's not going to help us be better. It's not going to help us overcome. We will continue to be triggered by the thing until we face the trigger and overcome the trigger. And so if the scale triggers you, you need to ask why the scale is triggering you. When you understand what's happening there, all of a sudden, it no longer holds any power over you. And that's what 100% of my women tell me after they finally address it and face it. It's just like if you keep going through these binge and restrict cycles, you have to do a sardine fast to make any progress, and then you eat your face off the day you stop the sardine fast. There's an issue there you need to deal with, and every fast in the book is not going to solve that for you.
Okay.
You need to face the real problem.
I want to go into something else now, because you just brought up a whole nother thing.
Okay.
Okay, this is where we start going all like this in the conversation, guys. We talked about metabolic function. We talked about being in a deficit. We talked about extremes. Okay, one of the other reasons you're having problems in a deficit of losing weight or thinking you're gaining weight is because you have chronically over years been inconsistent with your solutions. I'm going to do a fast. I'm going to do a 36-hour fast. Then I'm going to go high fat. Then I'm going to go low fat and high protein. Then I'm going to go and start doing 24-hour fast or a 7-day dry fast or a fat fast or a sardine fast. Or for years, you've been trying all these different short-term things, and your metabolism is going, what the ever-loving crap am I supposed to do with myself? Okay? Your body, this is what we talk about, your body's metabolism, your body requires consistent input to build and maintain consistent performance.
Your body is a homeostatic machine. It wants to maintain.
It wants to maintain. Every time you throw something new at it, it has to adapt. And if it never gets a chance to level out, then you will never obtain the goal that you're looking for.
Yep.
Stop. Patience, small changes over time, and stop trying to shortcut the process.
Oh, I got another little gem for you.
Your impatience is why you're stuck.
when you say things like, I feel like, ... whatever comes after that is a lie.
Woo! Because you have no data to back it up.
Or we like to call it a story if that makes you feel better. But it's a story your brain your emotional brain is in charge of. So I feel like I'm doing everything and I'm not losing weight. I feel like when I eat less, I gain weight. I feel like when I eat more, I lose weight.
Yeah.
Feelings aren't facts. So go find the facts.
Yes.
What are you actually eating? Because that's the other thing. Then the next question is, well, have you tracked what you're doing? Well, kind of, sort of, sometimes. Have you tracked consistently? No, tracking stresses me out.
Right.
Well, then you're asking, what do you say if you're not tracking?
You're not trying.
If you're unwilling to track consistently over time, more than a week, more than a few days.
You have no idea what's going on.
Oh, I ate something off plan, so I'm not going to track that. Well, now you have no idea what the actual truth is. That's the other thing we see a lot is, hey, your logs look, you're missing some days. Or did you really only eat 400 calories yesterday? Oh, no, I just, I must not have tracked my dinner. Well, we don't know where to go when we don't have all the data.
Yep.
I like to say we just wrapped up or we're wrapping up baselining week in my challenge right now. Baselining week, I wish we could do 4 weeks, but the challenge is only 8 weeks long, so we do 1 week of baselining. Usually there's a question that pops up, why have I not gotten my macros yet? Well, I don't see all your data yet.
Yeah.
And if I don't have all the data to go off of, it's like having no data. Incomplete tracking is useless to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
gotta track it
there's no
all.
point
Good,
in
bad,
there's
and
no
ugly.
point in giving macros if you're not tracking what you're doing.
Yep.
Right.
And then you have to rely
Nice.
on I feel like. What do you feel like you did?
Yeah.
And that doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have anything else?
I think we covered it all.
Let me see. Let me just look through my notes
Real quick. I do want to call out something else that we talked about briefly, but I want to reiterate something because I want people to think about what they're doing now, who they're following, what advice they're listening to, what programs you may think about joining or whatever.
Because here's the thing. I said this earlier, I'm going to say it again. Any program that is designed specifically to help you lose fat
Or weight.
or weight,
Worse.
specifically weight, is going to cause some level of metabolic dysfunction. Okay? The balance that has to be taken in the program, this is something that we work very, very hard to maintain, is how do we approach body composition changes while maintaining as much metabolic function and health as possible. Okay? So we understand the balance between the specific requirement to lose fat and what that can do if it's not done properly to metabolic health. We've both been there. We've both been super lean and felt like crap and had a bunch of issues, right? Because we were too lean or we were not, the balance of our lifestyle and quality of life was impacted by what we were doing to get lean.
Essentially malnourished.
Okay? Right. So if you're looking at someone, an influencer, a doctor, a program, a coach, or whatever it may be, a challenge, ask yourself the question, is this designed or is the focus on helping me lose weight? Or is the focus on helping me stay healthy while I change my body composition? If you can figure that out, if you can at least look at it from a different lens and stop just saying, oh, this ad says I can lose 50 pounds in 50 days, so that must be for me, you are going to come out of that completely screwed up. If you're looking for a shortcut, if you're looking for a short-term fat loss or weight loss solution, you are going to come out of it worse than you were when you went in. You need to look for something that's going to help you balance the two, your health and body composition changes, realistically, effectively, and safely. That's what we're looking for. That's what I need to say. And that primarily is adequate nutrition, adequate protein, physical strength training exercise and understanding that there's more to the process than just how much you weigh.
You just tied that up in a beautiful bow.
Yeah. Cool. Anything to add?
That is, you nailed it.
All right, guys. That's the
What are we doing in an hour?
Oh, we're going to be on the UK carnivores. Yes, so it is in 52 minutes.
We got to go eat first.
We got to eat and set up whatever else.
So we're about to go live again, guys, at 11 o'clock Eastern. We're going to be on the UK carnivores 24-hour carnivore stream. So go hop over. If you're not subscribed to him, go subscribe to him. Stephen Thomas, Coach Stephen Thomas from the UK.
You have to sign up to get access.
It's just on his YouTube.
Oh, okay.
It's just the live. If you go to his YouTube channel, I think it's the UK carnivore.
The UK carnivore.
Stephen Thomas. He's got a 24-hour carnivore live stream. I think our section is going to be you and me and a bunch of other people in this 8-hour block that he's on.
11 a.m. Eastern.
11 a.m. Eastern. Say that 10 times fast.
I'm going to pop it in my stories on Instagram too. So for those following on Instagram, check out my stories. I'm going to put the link there so you can go over to YouTube and watch us there. We're doing a lot of videos today.
And then you're
going to be on later today with Courtney. It's Courtney Luna at It's Courtney Luna on, I don't know if that's her YouTube. Her YouTube, Eat, Meet, and Question Everything is her podcast that I'll be doing. It's not going to be live, but we're pre-recording today, and then she'll be dropping it sometime in the near future. But on Instagram, I think actually her Instagram and YouTube are both, it's Courtney Luna, and then the podcast is called Eat, Meet, and Question Everything. We're going to be talking about this topic. We're going to talk about
this was a warm-up.
All things fat loss and body composition, and this particular topic was inspired by a video I saw her and Serena Carnivore do that got me all fired up and got us fired up. So this is like a preview to that. So we'll dive deeper into that soon.
All right, guys, take it easy.
See you next week. Have fun. Thanks for joining us.
Love y'all.